In this video, we're going to cover different accelerator obtainability options for your AIML workload on GKE. My name is Mofi. I'm a developer advocate in the GKE team, and I have here with me
Michał, Żyliński. I'm a product manager working in GKE AI training team, and I'm mostly specialized on obtainability challenges and solutions that we provide to the market. So let's start very briefly about what kind of challenges our users are facing when they are starting to use accelerators, be it TPUs or GPUs. One of the most obvious reasons is the fact that there is a continuous race towards more and more performant hardware on the market. All the hardware vendors are currently struggling meeting the demand that is coming from pretty much all the AI companies. So from that perspective, securing access to those limited resources is really crucial. And then finally, obviously, if you are paying for accelerators, you usually are facing quite a significant bills. Those are not cheap machines. So balancing this cost and performance with regards to your cloud bill is becoming more and more crucial with this new infrastructure.
we generally have two sets of options, on-demand and spot. On-demand gives you full control over the VM lifecycle and is great for predictable workload and no interruption. But you run the risk of hardware stockout. Spot gives you great price flexibility and is great for stateless workload, but it is prone to disruption.
You may obviously consider using reservations. This is very typical choice for especially mature AI companies that demand large-scale AI infrastructure. The most basic reservation is called on-demand, and they are usually consumed in conjunction with some sort of discounting mechanisms like cuts. What is important to underline that they are built regardless of the VM or node usage. So once you procure them, you will be charged for them whatever the usage would be. So they definitely make sense for large-scale critical applications or workloads like consistent model serving or maybe large-scale training. As an alternative, we introduced future reservations, which basically is a flavor of reservations that helps you or expects that you define the start and end date of such reservation. You simply define what kind of capacity would be required, what kind of virtual machine type, and then based on that, we will provide you those resources. There are some important improvements with regards to this experience. We combined future reservation with what is called DWS calendar mode, so that all the newest and greatest accelerators will be also available this way. So you may, for example, procure A3 Ultra machines or A4 VM types, or maybe all the new upcoming accelerator types as well. So to make sure that this is easily consumable, we also are introducing the dedicated recommender for this experience. So you may basically express your requirements, and based on those requirements, we'll come up with a set of dates in the future calendar, make sure that those resources are ready. The future reservations and calendar mode specifically are perfect for the use cases, for example, platform evaluation or benchmarking, running proof of concepts, or maybe some time model training.
A different mode of DWS is DWS Flex Start, where you schedule your workload and start them as soon as possible in a delayed manner. Flex Start improves accelerator obtainability with limited to no reservations. Flex Start allows for gang scheduling, where your workload does not start until all the accelerator you need are available for you. This mode of Flex Start relies on provisioning requests with Kueue optionally, which used to be cumbersome and complex.
To make life simpler, we introduced several important improvements to the Flex Start experience. The first, probably the most anticipated one, is discounted pricing. So we made Flex Start yet another provisioning model. So this is basically balancing out the prices of spots that are heavily discounted with the availability of on-demand. It's basically somewhere in the middle. For the smaller workloads, the experience with DWS Flex is as easy as using spot instances. It just takes a simple flag when setting up the node pool. We also introduced integration with compute classes, and what is supposed to come very soon, we will be also announcing support for TPUs besides GPUs.
For users of custom compute classes, you can now use Flex Start as a target for your custom compute classes. In terms of cost optimization, Flex Start sits somewhere between spot and on-demand.
Flex Start comes with important limitation. The nodes will be running for the maximum of 7 days. If you'd like to overcome this behavior, we also introduced node recycling as a feature of custom compute classes. While setting this parameter to true, you would be allowed to automatically create a new instance of the node before the old one actually terminates. We also allow for defining the period when this operation should start by using lead time seconds parameter. This way, you may make sure that this new node will be provisioned and fully operational before the old one disappears. This particular operation is definitely crucial, for example, model inference workloads that need to be continuously running.
Kueue is an open source batch scheduling system for Kubernetes, which integrates well with different types of jobs like TF jobs, Ray jobs, Kubernetes bare pods, and jobs. Kueue supports quota control, priorities with preemption. And new to Kueue is a way to improve pod-to-pod communication with topology-aware scheduling.
So how can it all be applied into the life of the future AI unicorn? Let's imagine the day one of such company operations. The requirements are quite simple because we are still in the platform benchmarking or proof of concept phase. So the team expects to have 3 nodes with some accelerator capabilities. They are meant to run single workload, and there are no tight deadlines. So from that perspective, there is no expectation to have, for example, long-term reservation. But what is required, the whole process should take 5 days roughly of continuous computation time, but it's also expected to use distributed training. So if you look at what are the options available, in this particular case, what I would recommend is to use either calendar mode or Flex Start mode with queued provisioning, because we are talking about distributed training, meaning gang scheduling.
As the team grows, let's say our company now have several teams running several large workloads. We have up to 50 A3 machines. Because we need this workload running for a long time, we want to really have a long-term reservation so that we don't have any disruptions. As the teams grow, we are running some production workload alongside some experimentation. So we really have a mixed type of workload where some workload really need to be on reservation, some can be on spot or Flex Start, so that we can kind of balance that cost to obtainability. We tie it all together with Kueue, with resource sharing, or even using some of the quota of our reserved instances so that when they're not being used, we can use it for our experimentations.
And finally, let's talk about grand finale. So we are talking about large-scale production system. It is supposed to grow over time, roughly by 20% quarter over quarter. We are also planning to start the product launch very soon. That will be backed with some marketing campaign that will generate obviously some unpredictable user traffic to our system. So in this particular case, most likely we will or should consider all the available options, starting with long-term reservation use as a baseline capacity, just to make sure that those resources are ready for the sake of necessary traffic. And then on top of it, we may add some flexible capacity to deal with, for example, some growth over time. And that could be a combination of calendar mode and Flex Start. And then obviously we would need some opportunistic capacity required, for example, to deal with the marketing campaign traffic. And that might, for example, use spot instances.
At this point, you might be wondering, which one should I choose then? Which mode of obtainability is best for me? Before we can answer that, you actually ask a few questions to yourself. What type of workload will you be running? Is it inference? Is it fine-tuning? Is it a mix of both? What is your specific hardware requirement? Do you need the latest and the greatest GPU, or are you willing to use some of the more easily available GPUs? What is your budget? Are you willing to make the trade-off of obtainability for cost, or you want to cost optimize at all cost? How critical it is for your workload to get access to the GPU as soon as possible? Do you need guaranteed obtainability at a specific time period, or are you more flexible in terms of when you start your workload? Do you need the ability to scale up your GPU workload up and down very quickly? With all these questions, you actually find yourself in a matrix of choices that leads you to decide which options would be the best suited for your workload.
So fortunately, we have some answers to these questions. If you look at this table, you may see a mapping of all the common use cases like giant model training up until online inference. And you can see that for majority of those use cases, maybe besides giant model training, both DWS Calendar and Flex Start are the perfect choice. If you'd like to see more details, this is basically the breakdown of all the available options, specific to discounting applied, what kind of SKUs will be used, capacity guarantees, preemption behavior, also what kind of quotas will be required, and what is the minimum commitment.
In this video, we learned all the different ways to obtain highly sought after resources like accelerators for your ML workload on GKE.
And even though the number of options are growing over time, thanks to integration with custom compute classes and Kueue, we try to also make sure that this experience is as easy and automated as possible.
We're going to put a number of links to documentation on DWS and DWS Flex Start in the description below. If you have any question, feel free to comment and we'll be sure to get back to you.